Hey there again, welcome back to the Math Office. This video is a continuation of simplifying radical expressions. So if you've already seen the first video, fantastic. If you haven't seen it yet, you can go back and watch it, or you can just keep watching this and hopefully you'll pick up what's going on. So we're going to take a look at some more advanced examples of how to simplify radical expressions. So we're going to continue with the work we did in the previous video on simplifying radical expressions and look at a few more examples that are a little bit more advanced than what we saw previously. So in our first example, we're going to give the product of 5 root 14 and 3 root 21 in reduced radical form. A few things we have to keep in mind when multiplying simple expressions in radical form. First, when we multiply these together, we have to multiply the outside expressions together, the expressions outside of the radical. We have to multiply the expressions underneath the radical together, and then from there we simplify into reduced radical form. So in this particular case, we have 5 root 14 times 3 root 21. 5 and 3 are the expressions outside of the radical, and 14 and 21 are the expressions inside the radical. So when you multiply these together, you keep 5 and 3 on the outside, and you keep 14 and 21 underneath the radical. So 5 times 3 root 14 times 21 is equal to 15 root 294. Now that we've done the multiplying together, we can simplify this into reduced radical form. So 15 root 294, we of course factor 294. It factors down to 2 times 3 times 7 times 7. We have a pair of 7s that we can exchange for a 7 on the outside of the radical. So this will be equal to 15 times 7 square root 2 times 3. Just multiply 15 and 7 together and 2 and 3 together, and we'll get 105 root 6. And that is the solution to this particular example. In our second example, we're going to give 4 plus 3 root 15 times 6 plus 2 root 75 in reduced radical form. Now this problem is going to require distribution to complete, so there's a lot of work here. So we're going to take the 4 in the first term and multiply it by 6 plus 2 root 75, and then we'll take the 3 root 15 and multiply it by the 6 plus 2 root 75 as well. So we have a lot of work shown here. What we'll end up with after we've multiplied everything together is 24 plus 8 root 75 plus 18 root 15 plus 6 root 1125. Now, we have 4 different terms in this expression, and we're going to simplify each one of them. So 24, of course, is just already simplified. The other 3 terms, we can do some factoring underneath the radical. So let's look at our second term. We have 8 times root 3 times 5 times 5. So we do have a pair of 5s there, so we can pull a 5 out to the outside of the radical. The third term, 18 root 3 times 5, is interesting because there are no factor pairs here. So because we don't have any pairs underneath the radical, this means that 18 root 15 is already as simple as it can be. So that third term in this expression we're just going to leave alone. And the fourth term, of course, has a pair of 3s and a pair of 5s, so we pull a 3 and a 5 to the outside of the radical. So now we have 24 plus 8 times 5 root 3 plus 18 root 15 plus 6 times 3 times 5 root 5. And all we do is finish multiplying everything together. And then it should be noted that if you look at all 4 terms here, none of them are like terms. We have 24, we have 40 root 3, which is a root 3 term, 18 root 15, which is a root 15 term, and 90 root 5, which is a root 5 term. So because there are no like terms, this expression is already given in reduced radical form, and thus this is our answer. This is the last example that we're going to look at for this video, and we're going to make things a little bit more interesting by throwing in variables now. So we have to give 2 root 27x to the 5th in reduced radical form. Now the first step in the problem is just the same as the first step in any other problem. We have to factor the expression underneath the radical. In this case we have to factor 27x to the 5th. 27 factors down to 3 times 3 times 3. X to the 5th simply means that there are 5 x's. So all we have to do is count out 5 x's, x times x times x times x times x, and we factored the x to the 5th portion of this expression. Now, this means that 2 root 27x to the 5th can be rewritten as 2 root 3 times 3 times 3 times x times x times x times x times x. The next step, of course, is to just look for pairs, as we did in previous examples. So here we have a pair of 3's and we have 2 pairs of x's. So this means we will pull out a 3, we will pull out a couple of x's. So now we have 2 times 3 times x on the outside of the radical. We still have a 3 and an x left on the inside of the radical, so we'll just leave that as 3x. All that's left now is to multiply everything on the outside of the radical together. 2 times 3 is 6, x times x is x squared. So we have 6x squared outside of the radical. We still have 3x underneath the radical, so our final answer is 6x squared root 3x.
Alright, so hopefully you found those examples helpful. If you need any other help with math, please check out some of my other videos. Subscribe, tell your friends about my channel. Other than that, have a great day.